What's up, my firewood friends? Welcome back to another edition of Firewood for Life. And on today's show, we're actually in the kitchen, but I'm not cooking anything today. I'm going to show you guys how to make a fire starter out of a pine cone. They look really cool, they're decorative, and they burn for about 5 minutes, so it makes starting a fire really easy. So stay tuned, I'll show you guys how. All right, one of the cool things about firewood is not only does it heat your home for basically nothing other than your sweat equity, but there's a lot of different ways to actually start the fire. And of course you can go to the store and you can buy an over-the-counter fire starter, but what fun is that? So I like to make my own, and one of the easy ways that I've found to do that is to use pine cones. Now these are pine cones that I found on our property. They're pretty good size. I mean, they're smaller than my hand. But what I've found over the years is don't use white pine. White pine cones are more elongated and they don't open up very well. They're not as user friendly. These more round pine cones work the best. And if you find a pine cone that's closed up, as you can see, these are very open. That's just because there's a lot of moisture in the pine cone. So just bring it inside for a couple days and it's amazing. They'll open right up. So it's really cool. Basically all you need is the pine cones that you find on your property, or you can go to the store and buy them, but then you're spending money. So I like to find the free stuff. Some string, pair of scissors, and this is just paraffin wax I've had over the years, and I put it in a saucepan. You can melt wax in a double boiler. As you can see, I have this colored with some turquoise wax dye. That just adds kind of to the appeal of the fire starter. But if you use a dye, make sure you use wax dye. It's actually a special dye that's made for wax. What happens is if you try to use food coloring in this, it doesn't mix. It just separates and it'll never turn the wax a different color. So you can actually use crayons too, but it takes a ton of crayons to really turn the color of the wax. So for a couple bucks, just go get some wax dye. Like I said, this is turquoise. It's kind of the in color right now, and it makes the pine cones look really cool. So I'm gonna move the camera. I'm gonna get you guys a little bit closer so I can show you what's going on. So stay tuned. We'll show you how to make these fire starters. Okay, I've moved the camera a little bit closer so it's easier to see. But basically, once you have your pine cones, just take a piece of string, cut 12, 16 inches of string. It really doesn't matter. String is cheap and you're gonna trim it off when you're done anyways. But just start wrapping it into the pine cone. You'll find that like the first inch is a little bit tough to get started. But once you get it going, it's pretty easy. It holds right into the pine cone. And then once the wax dries, it'll hold this string in place, so it really doesn't matter too much, just enough to get it about like that. And you can see I've got, a few inches of string left above it. That way you can dunk it into the wax without getting your fingers into the hot wax. So we have our wax right here. I haven't started to melt it down yet. As you can see, it's still solid. Just a saucepan. You can use a double boiler if you want to, but this is just a pan that I keep like this. Just when you heat it up though, just heat it nice and slow. You don't want to burn the wax or start a fire. But once you get the fire going, and I'm not going to have you guys sit here and watch wax melt, about like watching paint dry, but give this about maybe 5 minutes. Like I said, just nice and slow, and there's a certain temperature of the wax that you want. If it's too hot, it won't stick very well to the pine cone. If it's too cold, it clumps up. So you want kind of like a medium temperature, almost just to where the wax wants to start to solidify again. That's when you want to dunk your pine cone in, because it'll stick really well to the cone. So let me melt this down and I'll be right back. We'll show you guys how to make these. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes. As you can see, I have the flame turned off now. You only need to just heat it up to the point that it's melted. Just make sure you have enough wax inside your saucepan so there's enough to roll your pine cone around and cover it up. If you want to be technical, I have this thermometer. It's right about 176, 78 degrees. So it's still liquid. It's looking like it wants to solidify just a little bit, which is pretty much the optimum temperature. So just take your pine cone, dunk it into the wax. It's going to take a couple coats. And what I like to do, as you can see, this first one is coated pretty well. There's some wax paper right here, and just set it right on the wax paper. That way you don't get wax all over your countertops. And then if you have 3 or 4 of them, or however many you want to do, just kind of go down the line. It's going to take, string came out a little bit there. No biggie. It's going to take 3 or 4 coats. of wax to really get a nice layer built up. And you can see the wax is really starting to build up nice on that pine cone right there. So the wax is cooling down just a little bit, makes it a lot easier. And then once that wax dries on your first one, it's like an assembly line. Just go right back through, coat it again. And once this wax dries, because I have the turquoise coloring inside of it, really adds nice color to the fire starters. Well, that one just doesn't want to cooperate, does it? That's all right. And the string that you have tied around your pine cone serves as a wick when they're all done. And I'm speeding this up a little bit because we're videoing. Do one more quick coat, call it good. And surprisingly enough, this wax, although it's melted and hot, it's not really hot on your fingers. Obviously, you don't want to dunk them inside of it, but let's do one last coat on this guy and wrap this project up. Oh, that one's nice. That's it, you guys are done. Like I said, it's a really easy project. It's a lot of fun. The wax isn't terribly hot, so you can even have your kids be involved. Just make sure you turn off the stove after your wax is at a good temperature. And yeah, just go find some cool pine cones on your property, let them dry out so that they open up a little bit. Wrap some string around them. And actually, as you can see, what I did with this one is I take a little bit of twine and then I just get some construction paper and then I put a little stamp on it. Ironically, it's a pine cone. Just to kind of dress it up a little bit if you're going to use them to decorate inside your home. So they work great. They burn for about 5 minutes. Use some old candles if you need some wax. Put some wax dye in it if you want to spice it up a little bit, and you're done. So, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy your fire starters. And as always, if you guys like this content, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a like. Shoot me a comment if you guys have a better idea or something else you guys like to do. And as always, stay warm. We'll see you next time.